What's going on, people? It's your boy John. Coming back at you again from the forest. How's it going? I saw a quote by Ram Dass earlier today, just before I did my 6-minute meditation here in the forest. And the quote went something along the lines of, the only thing holding you back is that you cling on to your own unworthiness. And I found that very true. I found it to be very much the descriptor of all of our modern day problems. Because what happens is that you're told by everything around you. You're told from birth that you are unworthy, that you're not worth anything, that you won't amount to anything. And it happens in very subtle ways. It's not like someone comes up to you and actually says you're unworthy, but they show it to you in many different ways, subtle ways. Being ignored, being told that your opinion is stupid. When you have an opinion or you have something to say, you're usually, at that second, you're shut down. And you're conditioned by society, especially your teachers. You can't speak in class, you can't speak to your friends. If you've got an opinion again about the class, you're told that you're wrong, that you're a child, that you need to shut up and do your work. And parenting as well. 1800s, 1900s, there was this new standard of parenting, which was you have to ensure ultimate obedience from your kids, that they have to listen to every single word, and if they don't, you will not be able to create an acceptable member of society. So you have to instill rigorous discipline. So every time that the child shows any bit of free will, any amount of their own autonomy or freedom, that has to be shut down at that moment. There was a German guy, it was a German doctor who published a paper on this in the 1800s. I'll get the name up if you're interested to learn more about it. But he was the one that said this. He said that if you don't get rid of the child's free will, they are going to grow up to be a monster, a sociopath, something that won't work with society but will work against it. So you see that the tradition of eradicating free will from people is quite old. It's modern, but it's old as well. And so we believe this unworthiness that's taught to us since birth. As children, we're told to be a certain way. We're told to act in a certain way, to only think certain thoughts and be polite, and you're conditioned to be a social being essentially, but you're not autonomous. You're just a collection of responses, opinions, abstractions, judgments, concepts. You're not a person. Well, if that's the definition of what a person is, you are a person, you are dead on. But you're not free. You're not free. You are a slave to your conditioning. And of course, at the core of this conditioning lies that you don't have a say. You don't have a say. You don't have an opinion. You don't matter. You have to do these things because you are useless, worthless. You have to be a certain way, act a certain way, talk to people in a certain way, get their approval, sort out your image. Sort out your image. You need to be a better person. You need to listen more. Man, listen more. You don't listen, dude. So freedom is not a concept in our society, and the Americans, I have a lot of respect for the Americans, because their constitution is, forget about how parenting works there, or how the traditions of Christianity influences people and how they parent their kids and all that kind of stuff. The Constitution represents a very fundamental thing about humanity, which is the freedom to do what you want. As long as it doesn't harm anyone, physically that is, and you don't create hate, you don't try and incite people, but you have the freedom to do what you want. I like that. I really like that. It's such a small thing, such a tiny thing, but it's such a monumental thing that's built that country. And I do respect that so much, because we don't have that in this country. We don't have that right, that freedom to do what you want, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of speech, and the freedom to bear arms. You don't have that. These fundamental rights that you guys have in the States, we don't have that in Britain or Europe. You might have it in places like Switzerland, but you don't have that in Britain. So there's a better way though to ensure your freedom. And that is to let go of your own abstractions and your own opinions and your own conceptualization of the world. Because conceptual identity creates only suffering. When you conceptualize the world, you only think of a certain way to be. You lock yourself in a box and you say, I need to be this way. And if you try your hardest to be this way and you can't do it, you call yourself a failure. And now you feel bad and you feel sad. And some people get depressed and even commit suicide. Loneliness is one of the biggest epidemics today. I'd say that's a bigger disease than the coronavirus. So many people are alone today, and they're suffering with the aloneness. Or they're in relationships with people who they shouldn't be with. Or they're codependent, or they're narcissistic, or whatever. We've got this relationship problem, and it's because society has told you that you need to be in a relationship. You need to be with the opposite sex. Now, of course, you've got your biological imperative and the masculine and the feminine energies, and of course, on a physical level, that is something that is naturally expressed. But I'm talking about the psychological gratification of being with a woman or a man, or in a relationship, looking for that one. We all have this. Both men and women have the illusion of the one. Doesn't matter what MGTOW philosophy you come from, we both have it. This red pill movement has really, I know that the intentions behind it is to enlighten men and to help men who have been wrongly done in, divorce courts and marriages and have been cheated on and whatever. But at the end of the day, you've all been sold a lie, both men and women, and the lie is the one. This Hollywood idea. Fuck Hollywood, man. Fuck Hollywood. They've really destroyed the concept of love. It's not a concept. Love is not a concept. Love is a natural state of being. You feel that when you let go of concepts. I mean, you're able to love a leaf, you're able to love a tree, you're able to love the random person you walk across from the street. I've yet to get to this state. I've experienced it before, but I've yet to get to it now. And you're able to love the angry man who's shouting at your face, calling you an asshole. You're able to love that guy. I'd love to be in that state all the time, but I've also now fallen into the realm of conceptual identity. That's why I'm in the forest, to get a bit of inner peace, or to find the inner peace that already exists. Because lately I've been clinging to a lot of conceptual realities, a lot of abstractions and opinions, and it's worthless, it's useless, it's a waste of time. Because it doesn't bring any fruit. It just creates suffering and pain, and what's the point of that? You cling on, I cling on, everyone clings on to their conditioned unworthiness. Let go of it. Realize that it's a condition that's been put onto you by others, because it was also put onto them by others, and that this is the way our society has been trained to exist. It's not your natural state of being. Your natural state of being is freedom. Rebellious, man. Of course, being free nowadays is characterized as rebellious. It's not. Being free is simply staying true to yourself. And don't worry about the flack that you'll get. If anything, if you get flack, it means you're doing the right thing. People are going to judge you. They're going to say you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And my response always is, hey, I go in my grave, you go in yours. You worry about what you're doing, I worry about what I'm doing. As long as I don't hurt you, intentionally at least, then I don't want to hear your opinion. I don't want to hear it. If you're going to continue spouting it, I'm just going to walk away and find another spot like the forest, because the forest doesn't give me stupid opinions. The forest accepts whatever. So anyway, let go of your unworthiness, man. Let go of it. It's worthless. It's stupid. You're not unworthy. You are very worthy. You are worthy just by existing. Just come to the forest and meditate for 10 minutes. Or take LSD. It might be an easy thing. And feel the oneness with everything. Feel that you're alive. That you are able to be aware of everything that's alive as well as yourself. That right there is a miracle. And we keep forgetting that fact because conceptual reality seems to take precedence in our lives because of the conditioning that's been given to us. That's why solitude is actually so good. I love being in solitude now, because especially when it's forced, like lockdown, or you're in, you've moved to a new town and you're alone for a few months or whatever. I love that because that's a time for you to really detach from relationship problems and toxicity and other people's opinions and conditions and social responses and all that. It's really just a great time to detach from the world and get back to your core being. I mean, I've had some of the most profoundest spiritual experiences when I was by myself. When I was reading the Bible, and when I was meditating for like 30 minutes a day, probably sometimes twice, I had deep, deep spiritual epiphanies. God damn. Most of my spiritual growth came in those 3 months or 4 months when I was by myself. And thank the Lord that I was going through a bit of a difficult time as well, because I just came back from a difficult attachment sort of thing with the person, mental. So I had to deal with that, and I used that suffering as a gateway into the present moment and into my spiritual journey. So everything works for a reason. Anyway, I'm gonna go to the gym in a few hours. You can see the gains. And yeah, I hope you have a pleasant day. Meditate, take care of yourself, and get back to me. Tell me how you're doing. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.